An Archeology-Anthropology Museum Guide. Chapter 1. Anthropology and Archaeology Museums. Archaeology Museum websites / Anthropology Museum websites. Aboavetusars-nova.fi, Aboavetus, Museum of Archaeology and History, built around an excavated medieval city block in Turku, Finland. Amarant.org, the Amarant Foundation, American Indian Prehistory and History. Andover.edu/museum/Museum of Archaeology/pages/default.aspx. Andrews.edu/archaeology/museum. Archeology-Museum.it, South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology, has Ötzi, the 5,000-year-old man found preserved in alpine ice. Archaeologymuseum.ca, Museum of Ontario Archaeology. Commune.bologna.it/Museo Archeologico, the Archaeological Museum of Bologna, Italy. Huneberg.de, the Heuberg Museum, the archaeology of a Celtic town in Upper Swabia. jqjacobs.net/southwest/bsh_ba_gawa age.html, Bishba Gawa Archaeological Park, a 700-year-old Salado culture pueblo. ksu.ru/archaeology_n, Archaeological Museum of KSU, Museum of Kazan State University, Archaeology of the Volga, Basin. lsa.umich.edu/Kelsey, Kelsey Museum of Archaeology. museum.state.il.us/ism sites/Dixon, Dixon Mountains Museum, American Indian in the Illinois River Valley. nationaldinosaurmuseum.com.au, National Dinosaur Museum, Canberra, Australia. Neanderthal.de, the Neanderthal Museum, Human Evolution. oha.alexandriava.gov/archaeology, Alexandria Archaeology Museum, the City of Alexandria. Peabody.harvard.edu, Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. Penn.museum, University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. rockaRtscandinavia.se/uk/start.html, Rock Art Research Center. Semiticmuseum.fas.harvard.edu, Semitic Museum, Archaeological Materials from the Ancient Near East. sfu.museum, Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology, at Simon Fraser University, Burnaby, British Columbia. Southern.edu/archaeology. StonehengeUSA.com, America's Stonehenge, Outdoor Museum Prehistoric Site in Salem, NH. Unisa.ac.za, look up Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology. A list of anthropology museums by state at aam-us.org/about-museum/find-a-museum. Alaska. Museum of the Aleutians. Unalaska, AK. Alabama. Indian Mound and Museum. Florence, AL. Arizona. Amarant Foundation. Dragoon, AZ. Museum of Northern Arizona. Flagstaff, AZ. Bishba Gawa Archaeological Park. Globe, AZ. Center for Archaeology and Social Change Repository. Tempe, AZ. Arizona State Museum, University of Arizona. Tucson, AZ. Western Archaeological and Conservation Center. California. San Diego Archaeological Center. Escondido, CA. Marin Art and Garden Center. Ross, CA. San Diego Museum of Us. San Diego, CA. Santa Rosa Junior College Multicultural Museum. Santa Rosa, CA. Colorado. Museo de las Americas. Denver, CO. University of Denver Museum of Anthropology. Illinois. Money Museum. Chicago, IL. Pick Museum of Anthropology, Northern Illinois University. DeKalb, IL. Indiana. Indiana University Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. Bloomington, IN. Kentucky. Anthropology Museum, Northern Kentucky University. Highland Heights, KY. Massachusetts. Robert S. Peabody Museum of Archaeology, Phillips Academy. Andover, MA. Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. Cambridge, MA. Robbins Museum of Archaeology, Massachusetts Archaeological Society. Middleborough, MA. Maine. Abbey Museum. Bar Harbor, ME. Wilson Museum. Costini, ME. Michigan. Gordon L. Grosscup Museum of Anthropology and Planetarium, Wayne State University. Detroit, MI. Missouri. McClure Archives and University Museum. Warrensburg, MO. Mississippi. Mississippi Maritime Museum. Pascagoula, MS. New Mexico. Maxwell Museum of Anthropology. Albuquerque, NM. Western New Mexico University Museum. Silver City, NM. Nevada. Lost City Museum. Overton, NV. New York. Cornell University Anthropology Collections. Ithaca, New York. Museum of Reclaimed Urban Space. New York, New York. Ohio. Woodland Cemetery and Arboretum. Dayton, O. Pennsylvania. Penn Museum, University of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, PA. Rhode Island. Heffenrefer Museum of Anthropology. Providence, RI. Tennessee. South City Museum. Memphis, TN. Texas. El Paso Museum of Archaeology. El Paso, TX. Utah. Museum of Ancient Life. Lehigh, UT. Museum of Peoples and Cultures, Brigham Young University. Provo, UT. Virginia. Alexandria Archaeology Museum. Alexandria, VA. Washington. National Museum and Center for Service. Edmonds, WA. Wisconsin. Logan Museum of Anthropology, Beloit College. Beloit, WI. Anthropology Museum websites at aam-us.org/about-museum/find-a-museum. Aleutians.org. florenceal.org/community_arts/museum/index.html. Amarant.org. musenaz.org. globaz.gov/bsh-ba-gaua-archeological-park-and-museum. shec.asu.edu/research/collections. statemuseum.arizona.edu. nps.gov/org/1260/staff.htm. San Diego Archaeology.org. maringarden.org. museumofus.org. museum.santarosa.edu. museo.org. liberalarts.du.edu/anthropology-museum. chicagofed.org/education/money-museum/index. niu.edu/antharo_museum. emaa.iu.edu. nku.edu/tilde-antharo/nquan-through-museum. andover.edu/learning/peabody. peabody.harvard.edu. massarchaeology.org. abbeymuseum.org. wilsonmuseum.org. clas.wayne.edu/antharo-museum. ucmo.edu/offices/archives. msmaritimemuseum.org. maxwellmuseum.unm.edu. museum.wnmu.edu. nevadaculture.org. anthropology.cornell.edu/anthropology-collections. moreusunique.org. woodlandcemetery.org. penn.museum. brown.edu/research/facilities/heffenrefer-museum/home. epmarch.org. thanksgivingpoint.org/visit/museum of ancient life. mpc.byu.edu, alexandriava.gov/historic/archaeology/default.aspx, nmcfs.org, beloit.edu/logan. Chapter 2. A list of over 150 anthropology museum websites at museumsusa.org/museums. Anthropology Museum websites. Alabama Coushatta Cultural Center. alabama-coushatta.com. Livingston, Texas. Alaska Museum of Natural History. alaskamuseum.org. Anchorage, Alaska. Alaska State Museum. museums.state.ak.us. Juneau, Alaska. AM. Hist. SOC of Germans from Russia. ahsgr.org. Naperville, Illinois. Ashfall Fossil Beds State Historical Park. ashfall.unl.edu. Royal, Nebraska. Attalo Lodge Museum. ataloa.bacone.edu. Muskogee, Oklahoma. Aurora Fossil Museum Foundation, Inc. AuroraFossilMuseum.com. Aurora, North Carolina. The Autry Museum of the American West. theautry.org. Los Angeles, California. Beltrami County Historical Society and History Center. beltramihistory.org. Bemidji, Minnesota. The Bishop Museum of Science and Nature. bishopscience.org. Bradenton, Florida. Black Heritage Museum. Miami, Florida. Ballinger County Museum of Natural History. bcmnh.org. Marble Hill, Missouri. Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge. fws.gov/refuge/Bombay_Hook. Smyrna, Delaware. Bunshoft Museum of Discovery. boonshoftmuseum.org. Dayton, Ohio. Bowers Museum. Bowers.org. Santa Ana, California. Bowie State University Center for Natural Science, Mathematics, and Nursing. bowie-state.edu/about/admin-fin/office-of-facilities-management/capital-projects/nsmn-center. Bowie, Maryland. Brazos Valley Museum of Natural History. brazosvalleymuseum.org. Bryan, Texas. Bullion Plaza Cultural Center and Museum. auctioncatalogcompany.com/museum. Miami, Arizona. Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture. burkemuseum.org. Seattle, Washington. Kachuma Lake Nature Center. sbparks.com/docs/kachumacalendar.html. Santa Barbara, California. Cape Coral Museum of History. capisalhistoricalmuseum.org. Cape Coral, Florida. Cedar Key Historical Society Museum. cedarkeyhistory.org. Cedar Key, Florida. Charlotte County History Services. charlottecountyfl.gov. Punta Gorda, Florida. Children's Galleries for Jewish Culture. New York, New York. Chinese American Museum of Chicago. ccamuseum.org. Chicago, Illinois. Chumash Indian Museum. chumashindianmuseum.com. Thousand Oaks, California. Churchill County Museum and Archives. ccmuseum.org. Fallon, Nevada. Clark County Museum. clarkcountynv.gov. Henderson, Nevada. Collier County Museums. colliermuseums.com. Naples, Florida. Cox Science Center and Aquarium. coxsciencecenter.org. West Palm Beach, Florida. Deer Valley Rock Art Center. dvrac.asu.edu. Phoenix, Arizona. Denver Museum of Nature and Science. dmns.org. Denver, Colorado. Department of Museum Studies, John F. Kennedy University. jfku.edu. Berkeley, California. Destination Archaeology Resource Center. destinationarchaeology.org. Pensacola, Florida. Dixon Mountain State Museum. museum.state.il.us/ism-sites/Dixon. Lewistown, Illinois. Dinosaur Discovery Museum. dinosaurdiscoverymuseum.org. Kenosha, Wisconsin. El Rancho de las Golondrinas. golondrinas.org. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Elgin Public Museum of Natural History and Anthropology. elginpublicmuseum.org. Elgin, Illinois. The Children's Museum, Inc. the-childrens-museum.org. Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Evansville Museum of Arts, History, and Science. emuseum.org. Evansville, Indiana. Exploratorium. exploratorium.edu. San Francisco, California. Feet First Exhibit, Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science. rosalindfranklin.edu/dnn/shoal/home/shoalcollegiofpodiatric medicine/feetfirst.aspx. North Chicago, Illinois. Florida Agricultural Museum. floridaagmuseum.org. Palm Coast, Florida. Fort Recovery State Memorial, Ohio Historical Society. ohsweb.org/places/nw07/index.html. Fort Recovery, Ohio. Fort Toulouse/Fort Jackson. ftoulousejackson.org. Wetumpka, Alabama. Fossil Discovery Center of Madera County. maderamammoths.org. Chowchilla, California. Fountain of Youth Archaeological Park. fountainofyouthflorida.com. St. Augustine, Florida. Fresno Historical Society. valleyhistory.org. Fresno, California. Fulton County, Museum and Fulton County Historical Society. fultoncountys.org. Wauseon, Ohio. Ganondagan State Historic Site. ganondagan.org. Victor, New York. Garvey's Point Museum and Preserve. garveyspointmuseum.com. Glen Cove, New York. Grace Hudson Museum and Son House. gracehudsonmuseum.org. Ukiah, California. Heffenrefer Museum of Anthropology. brown.edu/Heffenrefer. Providence, Rhode Island. Harvard Museum of Natural History. hmnh.harvard.edu. Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard Museum of the Ancient Near East. hmain.harvard.edu. Healdsburg Museum. healdsburgmuseum.org. Healdsburg, California. Heard Natural Science Museum and Wildlife Sanctuary. heardmuseum.org. McKinney, Texas. Heritage Museum of Montgomery, Texas. heritagemuseum.us. Conroe, Texas. Idaho Museum of Natural History. imnh.isu.edu. Pocatello, Idaho. Illinois Mennonite Heritage Center. imhgs.org. Metamora, Illinois. Illinois State Museum. museum.state.il.us. Springfield, Illinois. InfoCenter Alabama, Inc. infocenteralabama.com. Helena, Alabama. Institute for the Study of the Ancient World. nyu.edu/isaw. International Museum of Cultures. internationalmuseumofcultures.org. Duncanville, Texas. International Cryptozoology Museum. cryptozoologymuseum.com. Portland, Maine. International Islamic Museum of America. iimainc.org. Atlanta, Georgia. Jersey City Museum. jerseycitymuseum.org. Jersey City, New Jersey. John Young Museum of Art. outreach.hawaii.edu/Jai Museum. Honolulu, Hawaii. Johnston Farm and Indian Agency. johnstonfarmohio.com. Piquet, Ohio. Joseph Moore Museum of Natural History. earlham.edu/jmm. Richmond, Indiana. Chiricasoke Nature Museum. ben.edu/museum. Lisle, Illinois. Kenosha Public Museum. museums.kenosha.org/public. Kingman Museum. kingmanmuseum.org. Battle Creek, Michigan. L.C. Bates Museum. gwh.org/lkbots. Hinckley, Maine. LAB. Enterprise. Albany, Georgia. La Senora Research Institute. lasenora.org. Santa Monica, California. Lanai Culture and Heritage Center. lanaichc.org. Lanai City, Hawaii. LaSalle County Historical Society. Utica, Illinois. The Anchorage Museum Imaginarium Discovery Center. anchoragemuseum.org. Los Alamos Historical Museum. losalamoshistory.org. Los Alamos, New Mexico. Lowell D. Holmes Museum of Anthropology. holmes.anthropology.museum. Wichita, Kansas. Luther College Ethnographic and Archaeological Collections. luther.edu/anthropology/collections. Decorah, Iowa. Martha's Vineyard Historical Society. mvmuseum.org. Vineyard Haven, Massachusetts. Mel Fisher Maritime Heritage Society and Museum. mlfisher.org. Key West, Florida. Metlakatla Indian Community. metlakatla.com. Metlakatla, Alaska. Mexican Museum. mexicanmuseum.org. Michigan Science Center. mi-sci.org. Detroit, Michigan. Miles Mineral Museum. w3.enmu.edu/services/museum/miles-mineral. Portales, New Mexico. Mill Yard Museum. manchesterhistoric.org/mill.hdm. Manchester, New Hampshire. Milwaukee County Zoo. milwaukeezoo.org. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Minnesota Historical Society. mnhs.org. St. Paul, Minnesota. Mission Santa Clara. scu.edu/mission church/history. Santa Clara, California. Modoc County Historical Museum. Alturas, California. Montana Historical Society. montanahistoricalsociety.org. Helena, Montana. Museum of Indian Culture. museumofindianculture.org. Allentown, Pennsylvania. Museum of Natural and Cultural History at the University of Oregon. natural-history.uoregon.edu. Eugene, Oregon. Museum of Anthropology. anthromuseum.missouri.edu. Columbia, Missouri. Museum of Anthropology. wfu.edu/moa. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The Museum of Fine Arts, Houston. mfah.org. Houston, Texas. Museum of South Texas History. mosthistory.org. Edinburgh, Texas. Museum of Science and Industry. msichicago.org. Museum of World Cultures/u.n.c. Wilmington. Wilmington, North Carolina. Museum of Natural History. uiowa.edu/nathist. Iowa City, Iowa. Naples Depot Museum. Southwest Florida. National Hispanic Cultural Center. NationalHispanicCenter.org. Albuquerque, New Mexico. National Museum of African American History and Culture. Washington.org/Smithsonian-Institution-Museums. Washington, District of Columbia. National Music Museum. orgs.usd.edu/nmm/index.html. Vermilion, South Dakota. National Museum of American History. americanhistory.si.edu/index.cfm. Natural History Society of Maryland. marylandnature.org. Baltimore, Maryland. Natural History Museum of Utah. nhmu.utah.edu. Salt Lake City, Utah. NU Anthropology Museum. niu.edu/anthro_museum. DeKalb, Illinois. Northwest Arctic Heritage Center. nps.gov/cakr/parnews/nwahc.htm. Kotzebue, Alaska. Orange County Historical Museum. orangenchihistory.org. Hillsborough, North Carolina. Orma J. Smith Museum of Natural History. collegeofidaho.edu/cultural-institutions/orma-j-smith-museum-natural-history. Caldwell, Idaho. Pacific Asia Museum. pacificasiamuseum.org. Pasadena, California. Palm Beach Museum of Natural History. pbmnh.org. Wellington, Florida. Paniwa Rainforest Zoo. HeloZoo.com. Hilo, Hawaii. Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. peabody.harvard.edu. The Nez Perce County Museum. npchistoc.org. Lewiston, Idaho. Pember Museum of Natural History. pembermuseum.com. Granville, New York. Parrott Museum of Nature and Science. parrottmuseum.org. Dallas, Texas. Pocono Indian Museum. poconoindianmuseumonline.com. East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Poe Museum and Cultural Center. pohmuseum.com. Pomo Visitors Center. Pratt Museum/Homer Society of Natural History. prattmuseum.org. Homer, Alaska. Ralph Leroy Millikan Museum. Los Banos, California. Rocky Ford Museum. City of Rockyford.colorado.gov/r-community/museum. Rocky Ford, Colorado. Roper Mountain Science Center. ropermountain.org. Greenville, South Carolina. Safety Harbor Museum of Regional History, Inc. safetyharbormuseum.org. Safety Harbor, Florida. San Juan County Research Center and Library at Salmon Ruins. sanjuancollege.edu/lib/salmonruins.htm. Bloomfield, New Mexico. San Bernardino County Victor Valley Museum. sbcountymuseum.org. Apple Valley, California. San Buenaventura Mission. sanbuenaventuramission.org. Ventura, California. San Bernardino County Museum. sbcounty.gov/museum. Redlands, California. Seminole Tribe of Florida Tribal Historic Preservation Office. stofthpo.com. Clewiston, Florida. Sheldon Jackson Museum. museums.state.ak.us/Sheldon_Jackson/sjhome.html. Sitka, Alaska. Sierra Mono Indian Museum. sierramonomuseum.org. North Fork, California. Sierra Valley Historical Park. Loyalton, California. Simon Panic Memorial Museum. sbmm.nsb-ihlc.com. Anaktuvuk Pass, Alaska. The Pember Nature Preserve. East Hebron, New York. Southern Vermont Natural History Museum. vermontmuseum.org. West Marlborough, Vermont. Southwest Museum of the American Indian. SRJC Museum. santarosa.edu/museum. Santa Rosa, California. St. Lucie County Regional History Center. stlucieco.gov/history. Fort Pierce, Florida. Star Echo Station. echostation.org. Culver City, California. State Museum of History. ok-history.mus.ok.us. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Suquamish Museum. suquamishmuseum.org. Suquamish, Washington. Tarpon Arts. tarponarts.org. Tarpon Springs, Florida. The Kinsey Institute for Research in Sex, Gender, and Reproduction. kinseyinstitute.org. Bloomington, Indiana. The Colorado Springs Children's Museum and Natural History Museum. Colorado Springs Children's Museum.com. Colorado Springs, Colorado. The Stevens Museum. centralmethodist.edu/cmmuseum/history.html. Fayette, Missouri. The National Memorial for Peace and Justice. EJI.org/national-lynching-memorial. Montgomery, Alabama. The Fluxus Indian Museum. fluxus.org/museum/museum.htm. Coon Rapids, Iowa. Thomas Warren Museum. thomas-warne-museum.com. Matawan, New Jersey. Tejano O'odham Cultural Museum Committee. Sal's, Arizona. Tejano O'odham Nation Cultural Center and Museum. tonation-nsn.gov. Tapawa, Arizona. Triangle Tattoo and Museum. triangletattoo.com. Fort Bragg, California. University of Michigan Museum of Natural History. ummnh.org. Ann Arbor, Michigan. University of Alaska Museum of the North. uaf.edu/museum. Fairbanks, Alaska. UW Parkside Museum Studies Programs. uwp.edu/learn/programs/museumstudies.cfm. Valentine Richmond History Center. richmondhistorycenter.com. Richmond, Virginia. Verde Valley Archaeology Center and Museum. verdevalleyarchaeology.org. Camp Verde, Arizona. Wasama Roundhouse State Historic Park. parks.ca.gov/default.asp?page_id=586. Ahwahnee, California. Weeden Island Preserve Cultural and Natural History Center. WeedenIslandPreserve.org. St. Petersburg, Florida. Wilbur D. May Museum. Reno, Nevada. Wyoming State Museum. wyomuseum.state.wy.us. Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yeager Museum of Art and Culture. hardwick.edu/campus-life/arts-culture/Yeager-museum. Oneonta, New York. Chapter 3. Almost 400 Archaeology Museum websites at museumsusa.org/museums. Almost 400 Archaeology Museum websites at museumsusa.org/museums. Hit the Browse button, then the Archaeology type. Almost 400 Archaeology Museum websites. Adani Tregonza Anthropology Museum. bss.sfsu.edu/anthro. San Francisco, California. Atna Heritage Foundation Museum. ahtna-inc.com/heritage_foundation.html. Glen Allen, Alaska. Alabama Museum of Natural History. amnh.ua.edu. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Allen Bible Visitor Center. home.nps.gov/lame/planyr-visit/visitorcenters.htm. Boulder, Nevada. Alaska State Museum. museums.state.ak.us. Juneau, Alaska. Alaska Museum of Natural History. alaskamuseum.org, Anchorage, Alaska. Albinger Archaeological Museum. albingermuseum.org, Ventura, California. Alfred B. Maclay Gardens State Park. floridastateparks.org/maclaygardens/default.cfm. Tallahassee, Florida. Amarillo College Natural History Museum. Amarillo, Texas. American Bald Eagle Foundation. baldeagles.org, Haines, Alaska. American Philosophical Society. amphilsoc.org/exhibitions. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. American Museum of Natural History. New York, New York. Andalusia, home of Flannery O'Connor. AndalusiaFarm.org, Milledgeville, Georgia. Angels Camp Museum. angelscamp.gov. Angels Camp, California. Anniston Museum of Natural History. annistonmuseum.org, Anniston, Alabama. Antelope Valley Indian Museum, closed. avm.av.org, Lancaster, California. Antelope Valley California Poppy Reserve. parks.ca.gov. Lancaster, California. Onsa Borrego Museum. Borrego Springs, California. Appalachian Trail Museum. atmuseum.org, Gardner, Pennsylvania. Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. desertmuseum.org, Tucson, Arizona. Arizona Museum of Natural History. azmnh.org, Mesa, Arizona. Artesia Historical Museum and Art Center. artesianm.gov/index.php/visitors-main/museum-vis. Artesia, New Mexico. Ash Mountain Visitor Center. Three Rivers, California. Ashfall Fossil Beds State Historical Park. ashfall.unl.edu. Royal, Nebraska. Ashland Nature Center. DelawareNatureSociety.org/ashland.html. Hawkesson, Delaware. Atalo Lodge Museum. ataloa.bacone.edu. Muskogee, Oklahoma. Atlanta History Center. atlantahistorycenter.com. Atlanta, Georgia. Auburn Joss House Museum. Auburn, California. Audubon National Wildlife Refuge. fws.gov/Audubon. Cole Harbor, North Dakota. Aurora Fossil Museum Foundation, Inc. AuroraFossilMuseum.com. Aurora, North Carolina. Badger Mine and Museum. Scholzburg-Wisconsin.org/Scholzburg-Bad Germany Museum.htm. Scholzburg, Wisconsin. Badlands Petrified Gardens. Kadoka, South Dakota. Barron County Historical Society Pioneer Village Museum. BarronCountyMuseum.com. Cameron, Wisconsin. Battle Creek Cypress Swamp Sanctuary. CalvertParks.org, Prince Frederick, Maryland. The Bailey Matthews National Shell Museum. shellmuseum.org, Sanibel, Florida. The Barnacle Historic State Park. floridastateparks.org/The Barnacle. Coconut Grove, Florida. Bay Model Visitor Center. spn.usaki.army.mil/mission/recreation/baymodelvisitorcenter.aspx. Sausalito, California. Beringer Crawford Museum. bcmuseum.org, Covington, Kentucky. Bell Museum of Natural History. bellmuseum.umn.edu. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Belrichton Museum. Belding, Michigan. Ben Rifle Visitor Center. nps.gov/badel. Interior, South Dakota. Benjamin Banneker Historical Park and Museum Inc. Baltimore countymd.gov/agencies/recreation/county parks. Baltimore, Maryland. Big Thicket National Preserve. nps.gov/bith/contacts.htm. Beaumont, Texas. Black Hawk State Historic Site. blackhawkpark.org, Rock Island, Illinois. Black Hills Institute of Geological Research, Inc. bhigr.com. Hill City, South Dakota. Black Hills Mining Museum. mining-museum.blackhills.com. Lead, South Dakota. Black Hills Petrified Forest. elkcreekresort.net/petrified%20forest.htm. Piedmont, South Dakota. Bluestone Wildlife Museum. Hinton, West Virginia. Bolac Museum of Fish and Wildlife. Farmington, New Mexico. Bolin Wildlife Exhibit and Antique Collection. McKinney, Texas. Ballinger County Museum of Natural History. bcmnh.org, Marble Hill, Missouri. Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge. fws.gov/refuge/Bombay_Hook. Smyrna, Delaware. Boone County Hist. SOC. Museums. bchmuseum.org, Belvedere, Illinois. Boonshoft Museum of Discovery. boonshoftmuseum.org, Dayton, Ohio. Bosque Memorial Museum. bosquemuseum.org, Clifton, Texas. Boston Athenaeum. bostonathenaeum.org, Boston, Massachusetts. Bowie State University Center for Natural Science, Mathematics, and Nursing. bowie.edu/about/admin-fin/office-office-governance/capital-projects/nsmn-center. Bowie, Maryland. Box Elder Museum. boxeldermuseum.org, Brigham City, Utah. Brazos Valley Museum of Natural History. brazosvalleymuseum.org, Bryan, Texas. Brazosport Museum of Natural Science. bmns.org, Clute, Texas. Brook Green Gardens. brookgreen.org, Mulls Inlet, South Carolina. Bruce Museum of Arts and Science. brucemuseum.org, Greenwich, Connecticut. Bruckner Nature Center. brucknernaturcenter.com. Troy, Ohio. Buckhorn Saloon and Museum. buckhornmuseum.com. San Antonio, Texas. Buena Vista Museum of Natural History. sharktoothhill.org, Bakersfield, California. Buffalo Gap Historic Village. mcwiney.org, Buffalo Gap, Texas. Buffalo Museum. Buffalo, Oklahoma. Bullion Plaza Cultural Center and Museum. auctioncatalogcompany.com/museum. Miami, Arizona. Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture. burkemuseum.org, Seattle, Washington. Burpee Museum of Natural History. burpee.org, Rockford, Illinois. Butano State Visitor Center. parks.ca.gov/default.asp?page_ID=536. Pescadero, California. Byron Forest Preserve District. byronforestpreserve.com. Byron, Illinois. C.E. Smith Museum of Anthropology. Hayward, California. CT State Museum of Natural History. cac.yukon.edu. Stores, Connecticut. Cable Natural History Museum. cablemuseum.org, Cable, Wisconsin. Kachuma Lake Nature Center. sbparks.com/docs/kachumacalendar.html. Santa Barbara, California. Caddo Pine Island Oil and Historical Society Museum. Oil City, Louisiana. Cahokia Mountains State Historic Site. CahokiaMountains.org, Collinsville, Illinois. Calico Early Man Site. blm.gov/ca/st/en/fo/barstow/calico.html. Redlands, California. California Academy of Sciences. calacademy.org, San Francisco, California. California State Indian Museum. Sacramento, California. Calkins Nature Area/Ellsworth Field Museum. Iowa Falls, Iowa. Call of the Wild Museum and Gifts. Colusa Nature Center and Planetarium. calusanature.org, Fort Myers, Florida. Camp Walton Schoolhouse Museum. fwb.org, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Cantigny Gardens and Museums. cantigny.org, Wheaton, Illinois. Cape Cod Museum of Natural History. ccmnh.org, Brewster, Massachusetts. Carnegie Museum of Natural History. carnegiemnh.org, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Carolyn Parr Nature Museum. Napa, California. Catskill Fly Fishing Center and Museum. cffcm.net. Livingston Manor, New York. Cayman Islands National Museum. museum.ky. Georgetown, Cayman Islands. Cedar Grove Visitor Center. Centennial Museum and Chihuahuan Desert Gardens. museum.utep.edu. El Paso, Texas. Central Montana Museum. centralmtmuseum.weebly.com. Lewistown, Montana. Charlotte County History Services. charlottecountyfl.gov. Punta Gorda, Florida. Chattahoochee Nature Center. chattanaturiCenter.org, Roswell, Georgia. Cherokee Museum. Oroville, California. Chesapeake Children's Museum. theccm.org, Annapolis, Maryland. Chesapeake Heritage Conservancy, Inc. chesapeakeheritage.org, Havre de Grace, Maryland. Chilao Visitor Center. byways.org/about/contact.html. Law Canada, California. Children's Museum. The Children's Museum.ct.org, West Hartford, Connecticut. Children's Museum of Fond du Lac. cmfdl.org, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Chula Vista Nature Center. Chula Vista naturiCenter.org, Chula Vista, California. Cincinnati Observatory Center. cincinnatiobservatory.org, Cincinnati, Ohio. City of Fort Walton Beach Heritage Park and Cultural Center. fwb.org/parks/page/heritage-park-cultural-center. Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Clara Foster Slough Museum of Enlow. enlowmuseum.blogspot.com. Enlow, Texas. Clark County Museum. clarkcountynv.gov. Henderson, Nevada. Clarkdale Historical Society and Museum. clarkdalemuseum.org, Clarkdale, Arizona. Clermont County Park District. clermontparks.org, Kylo, Ohio. Cleveland Museum of Natural History. cmnh.org, Cleveland, Ohio. Clewiston Museum. clewiston.org/museum.htm. Clewiston, Florida. Culleton Museum and Farmers Market. cm-fm.org, Walterboro, South Carolina. Colorado River Museum, Laughlin Museum. bullheadcity.com. Laughlin, Nevada. Colorado School of Mines, Geology Museum. mines.edu/geology_museum. Golden, Colorado. Congaree National Park Museum. nps.gov/cong. Hopkins, South Carolina. Conservancy of Southwest Florida, Naples Nature Center. Conservancy.org, Naples, Florida. Coyote Point Museum. CoyotePTmuseum.org, San Mateo, California. Crab Cove Visitor Center, Crown Memorial State Beach. Alameda, California. Crabtree Nature Center. fpdcc.com/tier3.php !content_id =5 file $abt_5a. Barrington, Illinois. Cracker Trail Museum. hardycounty.net/Cracker Trail Museum/index.html. Zolfo Springs, Florida. Cracker Trail Museum has collected over 4,000 items related to pioneer-era Florida history. Each item is maintained either within glass-enclosed cases or strategically placed around the floor of the museum. Many of the larger items are provided in a setting that would be reminiscent of pioneer living. The items are identified with a tag that not only gives its description, but includes the name of the person who donated it. Crosby County Pioneer Memorial Museum. ccpmmuseum.com. Crosbyton, Texas. Crowley Museum and Nature Center. crowleyfl.org, Sarasota, Florida. The Museum of Natural History. delmnh.org, Wilmington, Delaware. Dallas Public Schools Environmental Education Center. Seagoville, Texas. Danville Science Center. dsc.smv.org, Danville, Virginia. Deering Estate at Cutler. deeringestate.org, Miami, Florida. Delmarva Discovery Center. delmarvadiscoverycenter.org, Pocomoke City, Maryland. Delta College Clever Planetarium and Earth Science Center. Stockton, California. Denver Museum of Nature and Science. dmns.org, Denver, Colorado. Depreciation Lands Museum. depreciationlandsmuseum.org, Allison Park, Pennsylvania. Des Lacs National Wildlife Refuge. Kenmare, North Dakota. Devil's Postpile National Monument. Mammoth Lakes, California. Dixon Mountain State Museum. museum.state.il.us/ismsites/Dixon. Lewistown, Illinois. Dean Museum of Natural History. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Dinosaur Discovery Museum. dinosaurdiscoverymuseum.org, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Dinosaur Valley State Park. tpwd.state.tx.us. Glen Rose, Texas. Discovery Museum and Planetarium. discoverymuseum.org, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Door County Maritime Museum. dcmm.org, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. Dorothy Peacock Nature Center. woodburyparks.com. Sioux City, Iowa. Douglas County Museum of History and Natural History. co.douglas.or.us/museum. Roseburg, Oregon. Durham Center Museum. East Durham, New York. Duval Tool Museum. mncppc.org/2099/about-the-museums. Upper Marlboro, Maryland. E.C. Allison Research Center. geology.sdsu.edu/facilities/AllisonCTR. San Diego, California. Etsu and GSB Natural History Museum and Gray Fossil Site. grayfossilmuseum.com. Gray, Tennessee. Earth Science Museum. cpms.byu.edu/esm. Provo, Utah. East Garrison Visitor Center. Tiburon, California. East Texas Oil Museum. easttexasoilmuseum.com. Kilgore, Texas. Eastern New Mexico University Natural History Museum. enmu.edu/services/museums/natural-history. Portales, New Mexico. 8th Maine Regiment Association. athmayineregimentpeaksisland.com. Peaks Island, Maine. El Campo Museum of Natural History. El Campo, Texas. Elgin Public Museum of Natural History and Anthropology. ElginPublicMuseum.org, Elgin, Illinois. Elkhorn Slough Estuary Rhine Reserve. Elkhornslock.org, Watsonville, California. Ellie Schiller Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park. Homosassa-Springs.org, Homosassa, Florida. Elsing Museum. Elsing.oru.edu. Tulsa, Oklahoma. End of the Trail Indian Museum. Klamath, California. Everything Prehistoric Fossil Gallery. Rapid City, South Dakota. Exploration Works Montana's Interactive Science Center. Explorationworks.org, Helena, Montana. Exploratorium. Exploratorium.edu. FIM's mission is to provide a world-class museum built on permanent collections and other traveling exhibitions. This mission allows focus on national or international exhibitions including collections from the Smithsonian. Fairfax County Park Authority. fairfaxcounty.gov/parks. Fairfax, Virginia. Falls of the Ohio State Park Interpretive Center. fallsoftheohio.org, Clarksville, Indiana. Feather River Nature Center and Native Plant Park. Cityoforoville.org, Oroville, California. Fernbank Museum of Natural History. fernbank.edu/museum. Field Museum of Natural History. fmnh.org, Chicago, Illinois. Flag Township Historical Society and Museum. flagtownshipmuseum.org, Rochelle, Illinois. Florida Agricultural Museum. floridaagmuseum.org, Palm Coast, Florida. Florida International Museum. floridamuseum.org, St. Petersburg, Florida. Florida Museum of Natural History Administration/Collections/Research. floridamuseum.ufl.edu. Gainesville, Florida. Florida Museum of Natural History Exhibits and Public Programs. Florescent Fossil Beds National Monument. nps.gov/flfo. Florescent, Colorado. Ford House Museum. mcn.org/ed/cur/liv/ind/mark/ford.htm. Mendocino, California. Fort Caroline National Memorial. nps.gov/timu. Jacksonville, Florida. Fort Morgan State Historic Site. azaleacity.com/fortmorgan/information.htm. Gulf Shores, Alabama. Fort Toulouse/Fort Jackson. ftoulousejackson.org, Wetumpka, Alabama. Fossil Discovery Center of Madera County. MaderaMammoths.org, Chowchilla, California. Four Bears Museum. Newtown, North Dakota. Franklin County Museum. fcha-online.org, Mount Vernon, Texas. Fresno Historical Society. valleyhistory.org, Fresno, California. Friends of Dinosaur Ridge. dinoridge.org, Morrison, Colorado. Frisco Depot and Museum. friscodepot.org, Hugo, Oklahoma. Frisco Native American Museum and Natural History Center. nativeamericanmuseum.org, Frisco, North Carolina. Frist Center for the Visual Arts. fristcenter.org, Nashville, Tennessee. Garfield County Museum. Jordan, Montana. Garvey's Point Museum and Preserve. garveyspointmuseum.com. Glen Cove, New York. Gary Historical Association. ExperienceGarySD.com. Gary, South Dakota. Gates Planetarium, Denver Museum of Natural History. Denver, Colorado. Gene Stratton Porter State Historic Site. indianamuseum.org/sites/gene.html. Rome City, Indiana. George S. Ecclesiastes Dinosaur Park. Dinosaurpark.org, Ogden, Utah. Georgia Museum of Natural History. museum.nhm.uga.edu. Athens, Georgia. Gillette Natural History Association. Muskegon, Michigan. Glacier Natural History Association, Glacier National Park. West Glacier, Montana. Goose Lake Prairie State Natural Area. Morris, Illinois. Grace Armentrout Museum. George West, Texas. Great Valley Museum of Natural History. Modesto, California. Graybull Museum. travelwyoming.com/listings/graybull-museum. Graybull, Wyoming. Guadalupe Mountains National Park. guadalupe.mountains.national-park.com. Salt Flat, Texas. Gulf Islands National Seashore. nps.gov/GUIs. Gulf Breeze, Florida. Gunnison Museum of Natural History. Pawling, New York. H. Earl Clack Museum. co.hill.mt.us/museum/heritage_center.html. Havre, Montana. Harbor Wildlife Museum. harborwildlifemuseum.com. Sherman, Texas. Harriet Alexander Nature Center. cityofroseville.com. Roseville, Minnesota. Harvard Museum of Natural History. hmnh.harvard.edu. Cambridge, Massachusetts. Henricus Foundation/Henricus Historical Park. henricus.org, Chesterfield, Virginia. Heritage Canyon. City of Fulton.us/index.php $?@_emtree $viewlink &link_id=6 $item ID=98. Fulton, Illinois. Hess Heritage Museum. Ashton, Idaho. Historic Virginia Key Beach Park and Museum. virginiakeybeachpark.net. Miami, Florida. Historical Museum of the Wabash Valley. vchs.co. Terre Haute, Indiana. History Center of Olmsted County. olmstedhistory.com. Rochester, Minnesota. History Colorado Center. historycolorado.org, Denver, Colorado. Hoopa Tribal Museum. Hoopa, California. Horry County Museum. horrycountymuseum.org, Conway, South Carolina. Haslet Museum of Natural History. collections.luther.edu. Decorah, Iowa. Houston Museum of Natural Science, HMNS. hmns.org, Houston, Texas. Hudson Highlands Nature Museum. hhnaturemuseum.org, Cornwall, New York. Hudson Meng Bison Kill Site and Museum. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Hudson-Meng_bison_kill. Crawford, Nebraska. Humboldt State University Natural History Museum. humboldt.edu/natmuse. Arcata, California. Hutchings Museum Institute. johnhutchingsmuseum.org, Lehi, Utah. Idaho Museum of Natural History. imnh.isu.edu. Pocatello, Idaho. Illinois State Museum. museum.state.il.us. Springfield, Illinois. Imperial Valley Desert Museum. fordesertmuseum.org, Ocotillo, California. Indian Temple Mound Museum. Indian Village. Trinidad, California. InfoCenter Alabama, Inc. infocenteralabama.com. Helena, Alabama. International Cryptozoology Museum. cryptozoologymuseum.com. Portland, Maine. International Museum of Art and Science. imasonline.org, McAllen, Texas. International Peace Garden. peacegarden.com. Dunsife, North Dakota. International Wildlife Museum. thewildlifemuseum.org, Tucson, Arizona. Iowa Historical Building. state.ia.us/government/dca/shsi. Des Moines, Iowa. Ironstone Heritage Museum. ironstonevineyards.com. Murphys, California. John E. Connor Museum. museum.tamuk.edu. Kingsville, Texas. Joseph Moore Museum of Natural History. earlham.edu/jmm. Richmond, Indiana. Joshua Tree National Monument. joshua.tree.national-park.com. 29 Palms, California. Jordan Bachman Pioneer Farms. pioneerfarms.org, Austin, Texas. Juricasoke Nature Museum. ben.edu/museum. Lisle, Illinois. Kew Natural History Museum. nhm.ku.edu. Lawrence, Kansas. Kahanu Garden. ntbg.org/gardens/kahanu. Hana, Hawaii. Kampesca Heritage Museum. Watertown, South Dakota. Keesing Museum of Anthropology. Stanford, California. Ken Patrick Visitor Center. nps.gov/por/index.hdm. Inverness, California. Kenosha Public Museum. museums.kenosha.org/public. Kenosha, Wisconsin. Kettle Moraine Natural History Museum. Eagle, Wisconsin. Kingman Museum. kingmanmuseum.org, Battle Creek, Michigan. Kingsley Plantation, Timucuan Ecological and Historic Preserve. Knight Museum and Sandhills Center. Alliance, Nebraska. Cocoa Natural History Museum. Kaha, Hawaii. L.C. Bates Museum. gwh.org/lkabots. Hinckley, Maine. LAB. Enterprise. Albany, Georgia. LaPorte County Historical Society, Inc. LaPorteCountyHistory.org, LaPorte, Indiana. La Quinta Museum. la-quinta.org/your-government/community-services/museum. La Quinta, California. Lafayette Science Museum. LafayetteScienceMuseum.org, Lafayette, Louisiana. Lake Jackson Historical Museum. LakeJacksonMuseum.org, Lake Jackson, Texas. Lake Meredith Aquatic and Wildlife Museum. myspace.com/lmawm. Fritch, Texas. Lake Oroville Visitor Center. Lake Pontchartrain Basin Maritime Museum. lpbmm.org, Madisonville, Louisiana. Lakeshore Museum Center. lakeshoremuseum.org, Muskegon, Michigan. Lanai Culture and Heritage Center. lanaichc.org, Lanai City, Hawaii. Lanier Museum of Natural History. Buford, Georgia. Las Cruces Museum of Natural History. Las Cruces, New Mexico. Las Vegas Natural History Museum. lvnhum.org, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ledyard Water-Powered Sawmill. sites.google.com/site/Ledyard Sawmill. Ledyard, Connecticut. Lignum Vitae Key Botanical State Park. FloridaStateParks.org/Lignum Vitae Key/default.cfm. Islamorada, Florida. Little Snake River Museum. littlesnakeRiverMuseum.com/snakerivermuseum.hdm. Savory, Wyoming. Loggerhead Marine Life Center. marinelife.org, Juno Beach, Florida. Longmont Museum. Longmont, Colorado. Loudoun Henritze Archaeology Museum. trinidadstate.edu/museum. Trinidad, Colorado. Loxahatchee River Historical Society. JupiterLighthouse.org, Jupiter, Florida. Lubbock Lake Landmark. departments.ttu.edu/museum ttu/LLL/staffcontact.html. Lubbock, Texas. Luray Valley Museum. LurayCaverns.com. Luray, Virginia. Luther College Geology Collection. geology.luther.edu. Links Exhibits. Linksexhibits.com. MOXI, the Wolf Museum of Exploration and Innovation. moxi.org, Santa Barbara, California. MRB Lewis and Clark Center. mrb-lewisandclarkcenter.org, Nebraska City, Nebraska. Macon County Conservation District. MCCD at maconcountyconservation.org, Decatur, Illinois. Maine Historical Society and Museum. mainehistory.org, Portland, Maine. Malky Museum. malkymuseum.org, Banning, California. Mammoth Site of Hot Springs. mammothsite.com. Hot Springs, South Dakota. Merrimack Museum. merrimack/museum/index.html. St. James, Missouri. Marie Louise Olmsted Memorial Museum. Somonauk, Illinois. Marie Selby Botanical Gardens Historic Spanish Point Campus. Selby.org, Osprey, Florida. Marin Museum of the American Indian. mariniandian.com. Novato, California. Marion Natural History Museum. marionmuseum.org, Marion, Massachusetts. Marjorie Barrick Museum of Natural History. barrickmuseum.unlv.edu. Las Vegas, Nevada. Martha's Vineyard Historical Society. mvmuseum.org, Vineyard Haven, Massachusetts. Matthews Living History Farm Museum. matthewsfarmmuseum.org, Galax, Virginia. Machurango Museum. ridgecrest.ca.us/matmuse. Ridgecrest, California. May Natural History Museum. maymuseum-camp-rvpark.com/natural_history.htm. Colorado Springs, Colorado. Mayborn Museum Complex, Baylor University. maybornmuseum.com. Waco, Texas. McWane Science Center. mcwane.org, Birmingham, Alabama. Merritt College Anthropology Museum. Oakland, California. Michigan Science Center. mi-sci.org, Detroit, Michigan. Michigan Stained Glass Census. michiganstainedglass.org, East Lansing, Michigan. Miles Mineral Museum. w3.enmu.edu/services/museum/miles-mineral. Milwaukee County Zoo. milwaukeezoo.org, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Minnesota Historical Society. mnhs.org, St. Paul, Minnesota. Mobile Area Museum Association. mobileareamuseums.org, Mobile, Alabama. Moccasin Lake Nature Park. clearwater-fl.com. Clearwater, Florida. Modoc County Historical Museum. Alturas, California. Mono Basin National Forest Scenic Area Visitor Center. manolak.org/visit/vc. Lee Vining, California. Mono Lake Committee. manolak.org, Lee Vining, California. Montana Natural History Center. montanaturalist.org, Missoula, Montana. Monte L. Bean Life Science Museum. mlbean.byu.edu. Monticello Museum. Monticello, Utah. Montshire Museum of Science. Montshire.org, Norwich, Vermont. Monument Hill and Kreische Brewery State Historical Parks. Log Range, Texas. Morningside Nature Center. Events.gainesville.com/show/280-570-morningside-nature-center. Morro Bay Museum of Natural History. morrobaymuseum.org, Morro Bay, California. Mount San Jacinto Natural History Association Visitor Center. Palm Springs, California. Mountain Farm Museum and Mingus Mill. nps.gov/grsm/planiarvisit/mfm.hdm. Cherokee, North Carolina. Mountain Life Museum. London, Kentucky. Mt. Shasta Sisson Museum. mtshastamuseum.com. Mount Shasta, California. Muirwoods National Monument. Mulberry Phosphate Museum. mulberryphosphatemuseum.org, Mulberry, Florida. Museum of American Treasures. National City, California. Museum of Anthropology, Chico. csuchico.edu/anth/museum. Chico, California. Museum of Anthropology, Fullerton. Fullerton, California. Museum and Arts Center. museumandartcenter.org, Sequim, Washington. Museum of Anthropology. Muncie, Indiana. Museum of Arts and Sciences. mossmacon.com. Macon, Georgia. moas.org, Daytona Beach, Florida. Museum of Chincoteague Island. chincoteaguemuseum.com. Chincoteague, Virginia. Museum of Cultural/Natural History, CMU. Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Museum of Discovery and Science. mods.org, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Museum of Geology. museum.sdsmt.edu. Museum of Natural History. uiowa.edu/nathist. Iowa City, Iowa. Museum of Natural History and Planetarium. osfn.org/museum. Providence, Rhode Island. Museum of Natural and Cultural History at the University of Oregon. natural-history.uoregon.edu. Eugene, Oregon. Museum of Science and History. themosh.org, Jacksonville, Florida. Museum of Science and Industry. msichicago.org, Chicago, Illinois. Museum of South Texas History. mosthistory.org, Edinburgh, Texas. Museum of Texas Tech University. ttu.edu/museum. Museum of the Islands. museumoftheislands.com. Pine Island Center, Florida. Museum of the Llano Estacado. Plainview, Texas. Museum of the Plains. museumoftheplains.com. Perryton, Texas. Museum of the San Rafael. castleCountry.com/what_to_do/san_Rafael_museum.html. Castledale, Utah. Natick Historical Society. natickhistoricalsociety.org, Natick, Massachusetts. National Museum of Natural History. mnh.si.edu. Washington, District of Columbia. National Wildlife Refuge Visitor Center. Waubay, South Dakota. Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. nhm.org, Los Angeles, California. Natural History Museum of Utah. nhmu.utah.edu. Salt Lake City, Utah. Natural History Museum/NWOSU. Alva, Oklahoma. Natural History Society of Maryland. marylandnature.org, Baltimore, Maryland. Nature of Illinois Foundation. natureillinois.org, Chicago, Illinois. New Jersey State Museum. NewJerseyStateMuseum.org, Trenton, New Jersey. New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science. nmnaturalhistory.org, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Niagara Science Museum. NiagaraScienceMuseum.org, Niagara Falls, New York. North Carolina Collection Gallery. lib.unc.edu/ncc/gallery.html. Chapel Hill, North Carolina. North Carolina Museum of History. ncmusumofhistory.org, Raleigh, North Carolina. North Dakota Fishing Hall of Fame and Museum. Garrison, North Dakota. North Dakota Heritage Center. state.nd.us/hist/hcenter.htm. Bismarck, North Dakota. North Delta Museum. Friars Point, Mississippi. North Museum of Natural History and Science. The northmuseum.org, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Northeast Georgia History Center. negahc.org, Gainesville, Georgia. Northwest Museum of Natural History. Powell, Wyoming. Oaks Museum of Natural History. Grantham, Pennsylvania. Oakland's Historic House Museum. oaklandsmuseum.org, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Odessa Meteor Crater and Museum. Odessa, Texas. Old Courthouse Museum. Iroquois County Historical Society.com. Watseka, Illinois. Old Santee Canal Park. OldSanteeCanalPark.org, Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Orange County Historical Museum. OrangeNCHistory.org, Hillsborough, North Carolina. Orange County Natural History Museum. Laguna Niguel, California. Orma J. Smith Museum of Natural History. collegeofidaho.edu/cultural-institutions/orma-j-smith-museum-natural-history. Caldwell, Idaho. Owens Valley Paiute/Shoshone Cultural Center. Bishop, California. Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History. pgmuseum.org, Pacific Grove, California. Padilla Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. padillabay.gov. Mount Vernon, Washington. Padre Island National Seashore. Corpus Christi, Texas. Palm Beach Museum of Natural History. pbmnh.org, Wellington, Florida. Patterson Great Falls National Historical Park. nps.gov/pagar. Patterson, New Jersey. Paynes Creek State Historic Site. FloridaStateParks.org, Bowling Green, Florida. Peabody Museum of Natural History. Yale.edu/Peabody. New Haven, Connecticut. Peggy Notebaert Nature Museum. NatureMuseum.org, Chicago, Illinois. Pember Library and Museum. PemberMuseum.com. Granville, New York. Pember Museum of Natural History. Pemberton Hall. Pembertonhall.org, Salisbury, Maryland. Pennsylvania Long Rifle Museum. Jacobsburg.org, Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Permian Basin Petroleum Museum Library and Hall of Fame. petroleummuseum.org, Midland, Texas. Parrott Museum of Nature and Science. parrottmuseum.org, Dallas, Texas. Petrified Sea Gardens. Saratoga Springs, New York. Phoebe Hearst Museum of Anthropology. hearstmuseum.berkeley.edu/index.php. Berkeley, California. Pinal Geology and Mineral Museum. pinalgeologymuseum.org, Coolidge, Arizona. Pink Palace Museum. memphismuseums.org, Memphis, Tennessee. Pinnacles National Monument. Piscines, California. Pioneer Store Museum. pioneerstoremuseum.com. Chloride, New Mexico. Poe Museum and Cultural Center. PoeHmuseum.com. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Point of Beginnings Heritage Area. Platteville, Wisconsin. Polk County Memorial Museum. Livingston.net/museum. Livingston, Texas. Pomo Visitors Center. Ukiah, California. Port Boca Grande Lighthouse and Museum. Barrier Island Parks Society.org/port-boca-grande-lighthouse-museum. Boca Grande, Florida. Porter County Museum. PorterCountyMuseum.org, Valparaiso, Indiana. Pratt Museum/Homer Society of Natural History. PrattMuseum.org, Homer, Alaska. Prehistoric Museum. Museum.ceu.edu. Price, Utah. Princeton University Museum of Natural History. Princeton, New Jersey. Putnam County Museum. PutnamCountyMuseum.org, Greencastle, Indiana. Quincy Museum. thequincymuseum.com/index.html. Quincy, Illinois. Radford University Museum of the Earth Sciences. radford.edu/mes. Radford, Virginia. Rain Shadow Natural History Foundation. Sequim, Washington. Rangeley Lakes Logging Museum. rlrlm.org, Rangeley, Maine. Ravine State Gardens. FloridaStateParks.org/Ravine Gardens. Palatka, Florida. Red Oak Nature Center. Fox Valley Park District.org, North Aurora, Illinois. Red River Valley Museum. rrvmuseum.org, Vernon, Texas. Redwood Discovery Museum. discovery-museum.org, Eureka, California. Regional Indian Museum, Yaihaki. Paris, California. River Peoples Visitors Center. Hensler, North Dakota. River Trail Nature Center. fpdcc.com/nature-centers/river-trail-nature-center. Northbrook, Illinois. Robinson Nature Center. howardcountymd.gov/robinsonnaturi-center.hdm. Columbia, Maryland. Rock Springs Center for ENV. Discovery. Decatur, Illinois. Rocky Mountain Dinosaur Resource Center. rmdrc.com. Woodland Park, Colorado. Rocky Ridge Visitor Center. Livermore, California. Roger Torrey Peterson Institute of Natural History. rtpi.org, Jamestown, New York. Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. rookerybay.org, Naples, Florida. Roper Mountain Science Center. ropermountain.org, Greenville, South Carolina. Ross River Township Historical Society. Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania. Roy L. Hyatt Environmental Center. escambia.k12.fl.us/insters/env studies. Cantonment, Florida. Sacramento River Discovery Center. srdc.tahoma.k12.ca.us. Red Bluff, California. Sam Noble Oklahoma Museum of Natural History. snowmnh.ou.edu. Norman, Oklahoma. San Bernardino County Museum. sbcounty.gov/museum. San Bernardino County Victor Valley Museum. sbcountymuseum.org, Apple Valley, California. San Diego Museum of Man. museumoffman.org, San Diego, California. San Diego Natural History Museum. sdnham.org, San Diego, California. Santa Barbara Natural History Museum. sbnature.org, Santa Barbara, California. Santa Cruz Museum of Natural History. santacruzmuseums.org, Santa Cruz, California. Santa Cruz Predatory Bird Research Group. www.ucsc.edu/scpbrg. Santa Cruz, California. Santa Monica Museum, Wonders of the World. Santa Monica, California. Santee National Wildlife Refuge. fws.gov/Santee. Somerton, South Carolina. Sheila Museum of Natural History. SheilaMuseum.org, Gastonia, North Carolina. Science and Discovery Center of Northwest Florida. ScienceAndDiscoveryCenter.org, Panama City, Florida. Science Museum of Minnesota. SMM.org, St. Paul, Minnesota. Seacoast Science Center. SeacoastScienceCenter.org, Rye, New Hampshire. Seagraves Loop Museum and Art Center. Seagraves, Texas. Searchlight Museum. SearchlightHistoricMuseum.org, Searchlight, Nevada. Sebastian Fishing Museum. FloridaStateParks.org/SebastianiAnlet/ParkSummary.cfm. Melbourne Beach, Florida. Sherman Indian Museum. ShermanIndianMuseum.org, Riverside, California. Sierra County Historical Society. SierraCountyHistory.org, Sierra City, California. Sierra Mono Indian Museum. SierraMonoMuseum.org, North Fork, California. Silver River Museum and Environmental Education Center. SilverRiverMuseum.com. Ocala, Florida. Silverwood Lake State Recreation Area/Mojave River Natural History Association. Hesperia, California. Sioux City Public Museum. SIOUX-CITY.org/museum. Smith County Heritage Museum. rootsweb.com/TNSmith/heritage. Carthage, Tennessee. Smith Museum of Natural History. Caldwell, Indiana. South Carolina State Museum. South Carolina State Museum.org, Columbia, South Carolina. South Dakota State Agricultural Heritage Museum. sdstate.edu/ag museum. Brookings, South Dakota. Southeast Oklahoma Museum of Natural History. Tallahena, Oklahoma. Southern Forest World. southernforestworld.org, Waycross, Georgia. Southern VT Natural History Museum. vermontmuseum.org, Jacksonville, Vermont. Southern Vermont Natural History Museum. vermontmuseum.org, West Marlboro, Vermont. Southwest Museum of the American Indian. theautry.org, Los Angeles, California. Spring Valley Nature Sanctuary. Schaumburg, Illinois. Starved Rock Hist. and Educational Found. Utica, Illinois. Starved Rock State Park. starvedrockstatepark.org, Utica, Illinois. State Museum of History. ok-history.mus.ok.us. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Staten Island Museum. statenislandmuseum.org, Staten Island, New York. Stepping Stones Museum for Children. steppingstonesmuseum.org, Norwalk, Connecticut. Suffolk County Vanderbilt Museum. vanderbiltmuseum.org, Centerport, New York. Swan Ecosystem Center. swanecosystemcenter.org, Condon, Montana. Sweetwater County Historical Museum. sweetwatermuseum.org, Green River, Wyoming. Tallahassee Museum. tallahasseemuseum.org, Tallahassee, Florida. Tellus, Northwest Georgia Science Museum. tellusmuseum.org, Cartersville, Georgia. Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. tvrail.com. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tuacahn National Wildlife Refuge. Cayuga, North Dakota. Texas Forestry Museum. treetexas.com. Lufkin, Texas. Texas Historical Commission. thc.state.tx.us. Austin, Texas. The Anchorage Museum Imaginarium Discovery Center. AnchorageMuseum.org, Anchorage, Alaska. The Bishop Museum of Science and Nature. BishopScience.org, Bradenton, Florida. The Brevard Museum of History and Natural Science. BrevardMuseum.com. Cocoa, Florida. The Children's Museum, Inc. THE-CHILDRENS-MUSEUM.org, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. The Cora Hartshorn Arboretum. Hartshornarboretum.org, Short Hills, New Jersey. The Curran Homestead Living History Farm and Museum. CurranHomestead.org, Orrington, Maine. The Dinosaur Museum. DINOSAUR-MUSEUM.org, Blanding, Utah. The Fluxus Indian Museum. fluxus.org/museum/museum.hdm. Coon Rapids, Iowa. The History Museum of Hood River County. co.hood-river.or.us/museum. Hood River, Oregon. The Nature Museum. nature-museum.org, Grafton, Vermont. The Ponsaugunt Wildlife Museum. Bryce Canyon Wildlife Museum.com. Panguitch, Utah. The Pember Nature Preserve. East Hebron, New York. The Railroad Museum. Vero Beach, Florida. The State Museum of Pennsylvania. StateMuseumPA.org, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The Stevens Museum. centralmethodist.edu/cmmuseum/history.html. Fayette, Missouri. The Witt Museum. wittmuseum.org, San Antonio, Texas. Thomas A. Jagger Museum. Hawaii National Park, Hawaii. Thomas Warren Museum. thomas-warne-museum.com. Matawan, New Jersey. Tilden Nature Area Environmental Education Center. Time and the Valleys Museum. Timea and the Valleys Museum.org, Grahamsville, New York. Timucuan Ecologic and Historic Preserve. Trailside Museum of Natural History. fpdcc.com. River Forest, Illinois. Tree Hill Jacksonville's Nature Center. treehill.org, Jacksonville, Florida. Tule Elk State Reserve Visitor Center. Buttonwillow, California. Turtle Bay Exploration Park. TurtleBay.org, Redding, California. Turtle Mountain Chippewa Heritage Center. ChippewaHeritage.com. Belcourt, North Dakota. U of I Museum of Natural History. Urbana, Illinois. U.S. National Tick Collection. cosm.georgiasoutturn.edu/USNTC. Statesboro, Georgia. USDA Forest Service Visitor Center. South Lake Tahoe, California. UW Parkside Museum Studies Programs. uwp.edu/learn/programs/museumstudies.cfm. UWSP Museum of Natural History. uwsb.edu. Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Union County Museum. ucmuseumoregon.com. Union, Oregon. University of Colorado Museum of Natural History. cumuseum.colorado.edu. Boulder, Colorado. University of Michigan Museum of Natural History. ummnh.org, Ann Arbor, Michigan. University of Northern Iowa Museum. library.uni.edu/museum. Cedar Falls, Iowa. University of Richmond Museums. museums.richmond.edu. Richmond, Virginia. Upper Souris National Wildlife Refuge. Foxholm, North Dakota. Upper Swan Valley Historical Society Museum. Swan Valley Historical Society.org, Condon, Montana. Urbana Park District. urbanaparks.org, Urbana, Illinois. Utah Fieldhouse of Natural History State Park. stateparks.utah.gov/park_pages/field.htm. Vernal, Utah. Ute Tribal Museum. Fort Duchesne, Utah. VA Tech Museum of Natural History. socm.vt.edu. Blacksburg, Virginia. Vermilion County Cons. DIST. Museum. vccd.org, Danville, Illinois. Virginia Living Museum. TheVLM.org, Newport News, Virginia. Virginia Museum of Natural History. VMNH.net. Martinsville, Virginia. VOA's Museum. Minbin, Iowa. W.A. Gale Planetarium. Troy.edu/planetarium. Montgomery, Alabama. W.H. Over Museum. usd.edu/whover. Vermilion, South Dakota. Wadsworth Longfellow House. mainhistory.org/house_overview.shtml. Wasama Roundhouse State Historic Park. parks.ca.gov/default.asp?page_id=586. Ahwahnee, California. Wheaton Island Preserve Cultural and Natural History Center. WheatonIslandPreserve.org, St. Petersburg, Florida. Werner Wildlife Museum. caspercollege.edu/werner/index.html. Casper, Wyoming. Western Wyoming College Natural History Museum. Rock Springs, Wyoming. Wilbur D. May Museum. Reno, Nevada. Wild Basin Wilderness Preserve. wildbasin.org, Austin, Texas. Wildcare. WildSierraBuddyArea.org, San Rafael, California. Wilderness Park Museum. Wilderness Traveling Museum. Cuchoch, New York. Wilson Museum of Natural History. Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Wise Homestead Museum. Erie Historical Society.org/Erie-Wise-Homestead-Museum. Erie, Colorado. Woodman Institute Museum. woodmaninstitutemuseum.org, Dover, New Hampshire. World Museum of Natural History. LaSierra.edu/centers/WMNH. Riverside, California. Worth Ranch Boy Scout Museum. Palo Pinto, Texas. Wyoming State Museum. wyomuseum.state.wy.us. Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yakima Valley Museum. yvmuseum.org, Yakima, Washington.